How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Giving Space. Today we're going to be diving into the reason why you are failing your relationships. So I like to explain myself. The time being, I don't have any registered psychology training, none of that, no schooling for that whatsoever. I've just been a guy who's been helped once. And I've been studying different types of, I wouldn't say psychology, just I've been studying with coaches who've taught me what they have learned over the years. And then I've been just taking that and just experimenting myself, learning things. And the reason I'm making this video is because I've learned a lot of things that helped me in my life, and I would love to share that in this video. So the main thing I usually see on the internet is that why doesn't this person get me? Is it what's wrong with this person? There's a lot of beef wherever you go. You would tend to see that. Most likely you will see people just packing their bags, fighting with the family, mainly doing everything except going with the family. And it's always the family. It's never really the person's fault. Some people would admit that it's their fault, but more likely it shifts mostly on the family. There's many different examples of this. When you look around the internet, you can definitely see all different sides of the spectrum. And I do see a lot of this. From what I learned over the years is that you don't want to really want to see as like family is black, I am white. You don't want to see it as family is white and I am black. What I mean by this is that you don't want to see family is bad and I am good. You never want to see something as that. There's a reason why I say this is because you're limited to that ideal. You're limited to the ideal as that they are bad, that therefore there's not much I can do to move forward. If you have that mentality, how are you going to create any relationships? When I say create the relationship that you want to live in, create the reality you want to live in, mainly share with. You don't want to share reality when you already established that that person is bad and therefore you are as good as well. Subconsciously, you don't want to do this subconsciously. The type of gaze that I like to look upon is looking at is the person is good and bad. And also myself is good and bad. The person has right and wrong. I also have right and wrong. Very rarely you will ever see something being 100% right, 100% wrong. For example, the ideology of killing, If you ask majority of people, killing is bad. You ask me, of course, killing is bad. But if you look in nature, are you going to tell a lion that killing is bad? No. A lion kills because in order to survive. See, the definition definitely changes when you look at it from different perspectives. Right and wrong. Right and wrong is a matter of perspective. The reason why I say this is that there is more that meets to the eye. If you look at something as right and wrong, and you punish the thing for the default nature that it is, you're never going to establish a clear relationship. How can you establish something when you already see the person as the opposition? Rather than just being closer to you in general. Being the friend, being the family. You can't be friends with somebody when they're already your enemy. And most people will probably, sometimes I hear this argument where someone wants to say, I want to protect my future. I don't want to really risk anything to go against that. And, I do see truth in that. But of course, you weigh out the pros and cons. But from my experience, it's never made sense to never not give. Most people don't want to be honest and to say what they really think about the person on the other side. Their full intentions. A person will very rarely ever say what they really think about the person. A lot from what I noticed. For example, most people think that their spouse is stupid, angry all the time, and never listens. Yet they will never say that to the person. You don't have to say things with anger. You don't have to say the word stupid. But a lot of times I notice that they just see it one side. The person is wrong. Why don't you ever fight for the relationship? Why don't you ever try to make it work? People are very afraid of confrontation. Confrontation isn't always violence. If it ever gets to violence, different story. Authorities, there's always a million different options. There isn't just one or two. There's never just black and white. It's never just black and white, black and white. It's a spectrum of colors. What I mean by this, there's a whole path for you guys out there. A whole path. If you really think that everything is just, this person is wrong, I am right, I'm going to move forward. By the time you've lost so many relationships that could have been good, and at the end of the day, you're more likely to be just an independent person with a very small circle to little to none circle. For some people, that's a okay way of being, which is there is no problem with that. The only reason why I speak is to argue is that from the love that I feel, from the place that I'm looking at, to me, if you ask me, it looks way more nice to just have a lot of group of friends and family. Doesn't always have to be blood related. To me, it makes sense to be less domicile, less independent, less sheltered. Being more social. You notice this with dogs. If you leave a dog in the apartment by itself and you never let it outside, never really share it with people, they just become very sad things. They're never really happy, and it really exaggerates in their behavior and their mood. For me, people are no different. For me, I see a lot of people depressed when you just leave them in the room all day and they scroll, they do all that junk. And it really reflects in the mood, especially when you add weed into the mix. All these guys just stay in the room and they don't really know what to do. There's always more than one way. For relationships, always try to strive to not how the other person can change, but how you can work together. How can you guys work together? You can't change anything without sacrificing anything. You don't have to sacrifice everything. But you have to be willing to work for that. You have to be willing to fight for what you love. And if you don't fight for your love, what kind of love do you have? That being said, guys, I hope you have a good one. Peace.